Charleston White spoke up on an event, and we'll talk about that event here in a minute. A rapper by the name of Julio Foolio was killed recently this weekend. And Charleston White decided to give his 2 cents on it. Now, everybody knows us and Charleston White don't always get along, and we don't always agree what he's got to say. But broken clock is always right at least twice a day. In this event, he might be 100% correct in his approach, at least his statements, maybe not his approach, but definitely what he said. And we're going to talk about the event, and I hopefully want people to listen to what we have to say. We're not going to take Charleston's approach. However, what we are going to talk about is something that I want people to please, if you don't do anything else, please at least just listen. You don't have to hear me, but please listen. You don't have to believe me, but listen. And you don't have to adhere to what I'm suggesting, but please listen. Julio Foolio was shot in the parking lot of a hotel that he was staying at.
Police are still looking for the person who shot and killed a rapper and hurt 3 others outside of a hotel there. 3 others were injured in that shooting, as we said, but 26-year-old Charles Jones, was also known as Julio Foolio, was reportedly there to celebrate his birthday. I think he was turning, 26 or 27. Police are still trying to figure out a motive for the shooting.
Now, if you don't know much about Julio Foolio, join the club. We didn't either until this event. And I will refer to him as Julio from here on out because I don't want to say the entire name anymore. It's a mouthful. He was shot. Now, when you think about Julio's life, you'd have to listen to his songs because he was very transparent about the type of person he was when he was rapping. In quite a few of his songs, he mentioned the ways that he would handle people he disagreed with, as he would call them, ops. Now, in quite a few of them, he mentioned the ways that he took care of them. And in some of them, it sounded almost like he was confessing to some illegal activity, including murder. And in some cases, kidnapping.
I got hit in the head, he tried to swim at the pool. Big baby got caught in the morning on the bus, was going to school. And Shondell got kidnapped. He should have paid like a Bible.
So what exactly are we supposed to take from his death? Because it seems like the life he was promoting was the way he exited this world. For all intents and purposes, Julio lived and died the life that he preached in his songs. The way he laughed about others is the way he himself went. What does that say? Well, we analyze a few things. One of them is the type of situations that Julio put himself in seem to have led exactly to this, almost like he planned his own end. He was in a beef with another individual as well, one by the name of Youngin Ace. And they had a beef going. Now, we're not saying that Ace had anything to do with this particular event. Maybe, maybe not. But a few years ago, they had interviews and each were seeming to suggest that this beef would end soon in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
I asked him in our last interview, I don't know if you saw this because it's already out. I said, what would it take for you guys to squash it all?
I've seen it.
You've seen it? Okay. So what he said was that you guys have talked a couple of times and he thinks that the beef will end sooner than later.
Could it have been that Ace may have had a hand in ending the beef in the only way that they know how to handle it? The erasure of life. The key element we want to talk about is not so much the beef, not so much the lyrics, but the impact of the beef and the lyrics. Not just on the ones saying it, but the ones listening. This message, I want the people who supported both Ace and Julio to listen to, please. You are not living the kind of life that you are expecting. And it should be pretty obvious to you. All of the gold and the bling and the chains and the diamonds and the girls and the drugs and the guns. Please answer me this. What does it yield you? It seems to be yielding one very definite result, the end of life. Julio, for all intents and purposes, seemed to have predicted exactly how he ended. He laughed at many people that he ended. He laughed at people who were ended. He made songs upon songs upon songs, making fun of parents who've lost children.
We let this too, we let him go, yeah. 60 been a bitch, ain't it 2-3. I could've.
And here we have him living real life, and I use living in quotations here, his life that he preached in his songs. The end seemed to justify his life. So what does that say to the people that listened to his lyrics? This is what it should tell you. Don't. Do not listen to this stuff. It seems to have an actual real life, what would you call this? Consequence. You see what you put in, we've talked about this before, what you put in is what you'll get out. And too many people, just like Julio, plan their demise while thinking it's for their betterment. When you live in this particular arena, it is exactly how you are going to produce. I don't want to talk down to anybody, and I'm trying my best not to. And I'm not saying that I'm in a better position because of my life than anyone else. But I will tell you what the results of living a life that is not against the law can yield you. You won't have to look over your shoulder every 5 minutes. You won't have to worry about somebody pulling up against you because you said something out of line in a song. You won't have to worry about the police looking for you because you did something against the law. These are the effects of living a life opposite to what Julio was promoting, opposite to what Ace promotes, opposite to what nearly 100% of rap music promotes. It is not good. Now, you can define good any how you want, I guess. But if you want to define good in your own words as productive, I get what I want, and I'm living a happy life, how can you do that if you're dead? How can you do that if you're always looking over your shoulder for somebody else to pull up and do something to you? How is that living? I don't know how I could live a life where every 5 minutes I'm thinking, well, maybe somebody might be looking for me. Maybe the last song I drop might actually influence somebody to come after me because they don't like me. Maybe someone might start beef with me and start going after my family. Maybe. I don't want to live a life like that. Why would you choose that? Because it's been glorified. It's been shown as something that you should do. But in reality, you may end up exactly like Julio. See, while Charleston went after him now everybody knows Charleston has his own way of saying stuff. And sometimes it can be very raw, to say the least. I can't say I disagree with him.
And everybody saying, man, what you think about this? Well, all I'm going to say is, man, that nigga's hard to die. See, he heard this here. He lived and talk gangster. He had all the time in the world to apologize to them people. He was going to the graveyard, rapping at the graveyard.
Here's why I can't disagree with him. He's not lying. You spent your whole life laughing at other people, dying a certain way. You've written songs about it. You've encouraged people to do it. And lo and behold, you exit life the same way that you laughed at other people. A self-fulfilling prophecy, maybe? Or is it that you put yourself squarely in a place where that is inevitable? And this is exactly where people who listen to this kind of music put themselves. Because here's what people may not want to admit. What you put into your head will eventually influence the way you handle life. Something good goes in, something good comes out. I've said this before. We'll keep saying it because it doesn't seem to get in. If I keep talking about killing somebody, eventually I will become callous to the idea and somebody will piss me off enough that I might just fulfill what is in there already. If I talk about doing something nefarious to a female, I will listen to it enough to where it becomes a part of my psyche, and doing the actual act will become absolutely nothing to me. It'll be easy. We are inundating ourselves with this stuff. Constantly in our car, in a house, walking down the street, somebody else, and you just keep putting it in, listening to it, marinating in it, until it becomes a part of who you are. And before too long, the only answer you have, well, I can't do anything different. This is just who I am. How do you clean a dirty cup? You have two options. Depending on how really dirty the cup is, if it's just a little bit of milk, you swish a little bit of water around in it and you toss it out and you rinse it again and now it's clean. Suppose the milk has been in there for a couple of hours and it's kind of starting to get a little bit thick. You can rinse it out, but then you'll see this little ring. So you got to get your hand in there and you kind of swish it around and then you wash it out and the cup's clean. But what if the milk's been sitting there for a week? Now you pour out this little, it's in the sink, it's washed, but now the cup is completely caked with this stuff. You got two options at that point. You can put some real elbow grease and get a nice Brillo pad and scrub it, but you risk damage in the cup. Or you let it sit there and let it marinate in some water and it releases the stuff. My point is this. The more you allow something to sit and fester in you, the harder it will be to remove. The more pain it will take. It may become abrasive. You may have to use some really harsh means to get rid of it. But that's exactly what we're doing as a society. We're sitting there as a cup with some milk in it, and initially it's just milk. But then it begins to spoil and sit and fester and rot and smell. And before too long, the smell starts to get to you, so you try to change, but it's too late now because the smells fill the whole house. And now you have to realize I have to take a harder step to get rid of not just the odor, but the vile crap that's in the cup. Do you really want that for yourself? Do you want to create a harder life than you already have? But that's what rap music will do to you. And it's not, I understand it's not just rap music. Any vile music will do this to you. But we are talking about the end result of one particular man, and his particular genre was rap music. My advice to you is this. Do not let that milk sit there and fester. The cleaning process will only be harder, and the smell will be there long after the milk is cleaned. It is a harder job to do than to just wash the cup while you can and no longer leave it to sit. You have this choice ahead of you. It is always your choice. My advice to you is to choose wisely, because at the end of your life, you either exit this life having done something for people or done something to people. Choose the earlier, please, and do something for. Because when you do things to people, they have a slight chance of retaliation. Julio found out the hard way that when you put this into people's minds, you might be the next victim.